saying, Rowan, I couldn't do that at 27. No nonsense, straight to the point, courage, deep.
It finally happened, and it was anything but quiet. That lawsuit everyone thought would quietly disappear has now become the most expensive legal defeat in U.S. television history. Karoline Leavitt didn't just win, she delivered a massive blow. What started as a minor headline has now put ABC and The View in crisis mode. Behind the scenes, insiders are calling it a slow-moving corporate disaster. The court ordered an $800 million payout, not a small penalty. Not just a scandal, but something that could shake the foundations of daytime TV. The View, once the dominant voice in daytime talk, is now facing serious consequences. Whoopi Joy, they've disappeared from the spotlight. Sunny? Reports say she's been making urgent calls to legal advisors, possibly fearing what's next. Meanwhile, Karoline Leavitt is taking center stage in the media. This wasn't about legal technicalities. This case struck at the core of today's media culture. What we're seeing isn't just consequences, it's a public reckoning, captured on camera. The show that once seemed untouchable is now facing a very real threat: bankruptcy. And that's not speculation, it's the truth. We're about to uncover everything: private emails, frantic messages, last-minute calls to settle details that were never meant to see the light of day.
There is so much good news, so much winning out of the Trump White House right now that the mainstream legacy media can't keep up with it.
We're taking a closer look at how Karoline Leavitt turned the tables, rewrote the story, and completely stunned some of the most outspoken names in daytime TV. The second that judge slammed the gavel, everything changed. It wasn't just a win, it shook the entire network to its core. The fallout didn't just hit The View. It sent shockwaves through ABC's parent company, a media giant that once seemed untouchable. Before the workday even began, its stock took a nosedive. Billions of dollars in value were wiped out within minutes. Wall Street froze. Analysts were speechless. Live news anchors ditched their scripts mid-show. CNBC even paused a tech segment to report the bombshell. An $800 million judgment had just rocked ABC's financial foundation. Inside Manhattan's top office buildings, chaos erupted. Ad agencies scrambled. 4 major sponsors brands viewers. See everyday cut ties immediately. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Immediately. One insider said it felt like everything broke at once. Phones rang nonstop. Marketing campaigns were scrapped. Commercial time disappeared. And just like that, The View's budget was gone before anyone could react. Then came the worst part. Most networks carry crisis insurance to help clean up after situations like this. But ABC's policy had a catch: it didn't cover issues caused by their own on-air talent. That meant no financial backup, no help, no second option. And because this case was ruled as intentional defamation, ABC was fully exposed. No insurance would cover it. This wasn't a bump in the road. It was a financial disaster with no safety net in place. ABC's finance team went into full emergency mode. Legal teams rushed in. Executives scrambled through paperwork, desperate for a solution. One question hung in the air: can we survive this? That's when whispers turned into real fear. Staff started hearing a word no company ever wants to face: bankruptcy. Leaked memos confirmed the rumors. One employee messaged a coworker saying, "They're talking Chapter 11. Hiring froze. Budgets were slashed. Studio trips were canceled. Security was reduced. Even snacks and coffee were downgraded." The once polished halls of ABC were now filled with stress and silence. And while all this unfolded, Karoline Leavitt said nothing. No press tour. No public celebration. No victory speeches. Her quiet response spoke volumes. While ABC scrambled behind closed doors, She stood still, calm and focused, watching the fallout. The View wasn't just struggling. It was going under. And the woman they once made fun of? She didn't just defend herself, she changed everything. And this? It might just be the start.
So Joy Behar just offered her analysis on why Leavitt was picked for the role.
This was the moment everything truly fell apart. The second that $800 million judgment hit, it was like a legal guillotine. And it didn't just rock a BC, it zeroed in on three faces that had once ruled daytime TV: Whoopi Goldberg, Joy Behar, and Sunny Hostin. These weren't just hosts anymore. They were liabilities, icons turned into legal targets. Their reputations torn to shreds. Their careers sinking fast. No publicist in the world could undo the damage. While the media focused on a BC's financial collapse, something even darker was unraveling behind studio doors, something personal. Each co-host was summoned one by one. No cameras, no stylists. Just quiet rooms, cold lawyers, and folders full of warnings. This wasn't a tap on the wrist. It was a legal wake-up call. The applause was gone. The stage lights dimmed. And the message was brutal. You could be held personally responsible for part of that $800 million payout. Let that sink in. For Whoopi, the confidence vanished. She reportedly brought in a high-end crisis firm, the kind used by disgraced CEOs and fallen politicians. That's how serious this was. Joy, she vanished. No statements, no calls. She went completely silent. One staffer joked she ghosted her. Own scandal. But it wasn't funny anymore, and Sunny Hostin, the one with legal experience? According to insiders, she broke down during a closed-door meeting. No cameras, no glam. Just raw fear. She understood what this really meant. This wasn't about embarrassment. This was about ruin. Karoline's legal team didn't just win. They launched a full-scale offensive. What they revealed in court wasn't random drama, it was a pattern, a strategy. Slack messages dripping with mockery. Behind-the-scenes footage of hosts laughing during commercial breaks. Internal notes from producers outlining who should land the hardest line. This wasn't spontaneous. It was rehearsed cruelty. ABC tried to downplay it as casual banter. But the evidence told another story, one that was time-stamped, cross-referenced and airtight. Then came the clip that crushed everything. Buried deep in BC's archives, a video surfaced: Joy Behar backstage, sipping coffee, laughing with a producer. And then she said it. Let her sue us for that. That single sentence, it ended the debate. In court, when the footage played, no one spoke. No gasps, no whispers, just silence. Like the air had been sucked from the room, and a juror, quietly, leaned over and whispered, "She just lost the case right there."
Ironic that Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and the rest of the ladies on The View spend their time calling Republicans the conspiracy theorists, but they have been wrong about everything they have said over the last couple of years.
It all changed in that one moment. Joy didn't just hurt their case, she completely destroyed it. That video clip became the face of everything the public dislikes about today's media. The arrogance, the cheap shots, and the belief that celebrities are untouchable. But this time, they weren't. Things got worse when Joy tried to explain why Karoline was even on that political segment to begin with. It felt like one final jab. But Karoline? She said nothing. No interviews, no comments, no reactions. Just silence. And that silence made a bigger impact than any statement ever could. This wasn't just about a legal win. It was about changing the game. It was about consequences for unchecked egos. For the hosts of The View, this wasn't just a slip-up. It was a full-on collapse, and no one came to rescue them. Karoline, she was only getting started. Now let's take a look inside BC's headquarters. Behind the glossy walls, things were falling apart. Picture a sleek boardroom built for celebrations. This time, total silence until panic erupted. One staffer called it a wake-up call. Another said it was the biggest meltdown they'd ever seen. When the $800 million verdict hit, it didn't just spark concern, it triggered real security. Alerts. Internal systems flagged multiple executives trying to access sensitive financial files. This wasn't standard protocol. This was chaos. ABC's crisis team, trained to manage scandals, froze. They were prepared for PR cleanups, not this level of disaster. At exactly 2:01 p.m., right after the verdict, an emergency meeting was called. The subject line was urgent. Lawsuit verdict, immediate response. By 2:15 p.m., the room was packed. Legal experts, PR heads, top execs, and even Disney stakeholders joined via encrypted Zoom. The tension was intense. One executive slammed the table hard enough to flip a glass pitcher. "We let this happen," he said. Another threw a legal binder across the room. Someone quietly whispered, "This is bigger than Don Imus, bigger than Roseanne." Another added, "This is legacy-level destruction." Then, a young assistant walked in holding a white envelope from Karoline's legal team. Inside, one cold sentence. "We suggest you begin calculating liquidation options." That word, liquidation, had never been uttered in the same breath as The View. This wasn't PR repair work. It was a legal crisis. And ABC was standing in the blast zone. Reactions were explosive. Some execs demanded immediate action. Fire. Whoopi, Joy, and Sonny. Others warned against making fast moves that could be seen as admitting guilt. Voices clashed. One executive stormed out yelling, "I told you not to approve that segment." Then came a leak. A marketing insider revealed an old internal poll that had predicted this exact backlash if the segment aired as it did. ABC ignored the warning. Now that poll is Exhibit A in a new set of lawsuits, this time from angry shareholders. The damage didn't stop at $800 million. It sparked a flood of investor anger, possible class action suits, and even talk of network-wide bankruptcy. Inside that crisis meeting, ABC's chief financial officer laid it all out. At revenue losses, $140 million. Legal fees so far, $38 million. Sponsorships pulled, $221 million gone overnight. The network's image, crushed. One executive said it felt like watching the engine fall off a plane mid-flight with no way. To recover as they scrambled to form a plan, another blow hit. A behind-the-scenes video clip of Joy Behar sipping wine and smirking was leaked online. She was caught saying, "Let's see her sue us for that." Well, Karoline did, and she won. The clip went viral, millions of views within minutes. Sponsors panicked. One major automaker announced a full review of their daytime ad deals. Another media company froze syndication of The View on all regional channels. Meanwhile, Disney executives quietly began preparing for the worst. One top official said, "This isn't about repairing the brand, we're looking at shutting down the whole daytime division." And even then, ABC still thought a polished apology might help. But Karoline's team didn't bother replying. No press release, no interviews, just more silence. And by then, nothing was left to say. The verdict was final. The damage was spreading fast, and The View? It was disappearing. Completely. In just under 3 months, ABC went from pushing viral clips to discussing liquidation. No PR campaign could undo it. Because this wasn't just a media scandal, it was a reckoning. Newsrooms across the country were watching, not just as spectators, but as future targets. If Karoline Leavitt could take down The View, then no one was safe. CBS held emergency meetings. NBC started legal reviews on months of past segments. Even Netflix and Hulu brought in legal advisors. Why? Because Karoline didn't just win, she proved that media power no longer protects you from consequences. Now, live talk shows are treated like legal risks. Writers are scrubbing scripts. Hosts are undergoing defamation training. One CNN insider revealed that new contracts now include personal liability for on-air statements. No more hiding behind the network. And on social media, the reaction is explosive. TikTok users are calling it the talk show takedown. Hashtags like #ViewBankrupt, #CarolineKarma, and #TruthOverTalk are trending. Influencers are breaking down courtroom footage. YouTube is filled with hour-long analysis videos. For once, both sides of the political aisle agree this wasn't just about Karoline. It was about finally holding the media accountable.
In my lifetime has ever given. He essentially waged war on half of the country by saying that we are all a threat to democracy because we believe in putting America first. It's not radical to want to put your country and your own people first. It's not radical to want to have a strong border, a strong military, and to unleash the might of your own economy, not economies around the world.
Think about this at 26-year-old conservative woman took on one of the most powerful daytime shows in America and won. No angry outbursts, no viral rants, no press tours. Just solid proof and careful, quiet moves. She didn't argue back with words. She settled the case in court. That's not just news, that's history. Now, what used to be quiet political talks are getting louder. Campaign experts are already looking toward 2028. One insider said, "She has the platform and the strong base." The media made fun of her, but she fought back with subpoenas. Some call her the conservative version of AOC, but instead of social media, she uses legal documents. Karoline didn't just win a lawsuit, she changed the game. At a time when media stories went unchecked, she forced a serious wake-up call. The View didn't just lose a court case, they lost the culture war. This isn't just about canceling a show. It's about shutting down an entire era. Cameras stopped rolling, makeup stayed untouched, and audience tickets were stopped indefinitely. ABC, the giant of daytime TV, is falling apart. The View isn't. Just struggling. It's disappearing fast, caught in a storm it never expected. And on the other side of all this, Karoline Leavitt is still calm, focused, and standing strong. The woman they underestimated, the political outsider they ignored, quietly became the force that tore down decades of media pride in just a few months. Honestly, this didn't start as a big plan. It began with a smirk, a mocking segment meant to belittle, not inform. It wasn't a discussion. It was a setup, and now the only thing left standing is Karoline. After $800 million in damages, the score is clear. Karoline won and The View lost. They laughed at her. She took action. They mocked her again. She built a stronger case. They tried to cancel her. She delivered proof. In the end, she didn't just win, she made history. Millions watched, especially those often ignored or dismissed by the media. This wasn't just a court victory, it was justice. No, it was more than that. It was a message. This was never just about Karoline. It was about every person who's ever been talked over, looked down on, or silenced for not fitting the story the media wanted to tell. Karoline didn't just fight back, she broke the system. She shattered the idea that big networks could spin stories, attack their critics, and walk away laughing. Not anymore. Now, every producer is worried. Every host is thinking twice before their next show, and every network lawyer is rewriting contracts with one rule in mind. Don't be. The View. Karoline just showed what happens when you mock the wrong person, when facts hit harder than ratings, and quiet truth speaks louder than any headline. So here's the real question. Should The View be canceled for good? Is daytime TV finally facing the reckoning it's avoided for years? And is this the start of a new media age where spinning stories costs millions and real accountability wins? Tell us what you think in the comments. We read everything, especially the bold opinions. If this story struck a chord, smash that like button. If you believe the rules have changed, hit subscribe. Karoline isn't finished, and we're following every move. Share this with anyone who still thinks the media is above the law because that illusion just broke. The empire didn't shake, it shattered. And the one holding the hammer? Karoline Leavitt, armed with calm proof and power no one saw coming. Stay loud, stay sharp, stay tuned. History wasn't just challenged, it was rewritten.